This is for my friend from Rocky Mountain Zen. And well, the way I sometimes introduced Zen practice of Soto Zen Buddhism, which mainly focus, well, of course, the principle is what we call shikantaza, single-mindedly sitting or wholehearted sitting, or basically just sitting. But it's so hard to just sit, as you will immediately notice when you try and do this. When I had a sort of college, that wasn't a college course. It's like a lifelong learning program that I was given a chance to offer or introduce Zen practice there. I did encounter people who had some kind of a back pain, emotional tension, physical tension, and as I was we probably quite aware of these tensions are there, that much we can realize. But when we sit, it clarifies this. But then at the same time, our human beings are complex creatures, so it just doesn't get resolved. So I think there's a part which happens consciously. When you do things consciously, it's easy for us to get caught up with that sort of a method or concept, which is what I think we're trying to avoid in a practice of shikantaza. And with that knowledge, with that understanding, I think we could still try that. Um, and I found it useful. As long as I was just start to develop this sort of obsession or attachment to the methodology, you know, as is often compared, the teaching of Buddhism itself is a right. Shakyamuni Buddha's teaching is a right. And you have to leave that behind. And I think this principle applies to mindfulness practice too. If you're engulfed in mindfulness, it kind of defeats the purpose. Anyway, that said, um, when we sit, um, the balance is important. I met a few teachers in Japan, I guess several teachers who do encourage stretching. One of the things I actually like personally is the Chan Buddhism in China, how they kind of swing their arms for quite an extensive period of time. Just maybe you can try and do see how you can physically relax your body. There are many Zen centers in the United States where people encourage you to do yoga or just stretching. Japan, I haven't done much yoga, so but the least I can do is I guess stretch body. It's just more direct, physical. When we sit, knees are well um, placed on the floor on the cushion. I have a cushion, and then the height of the cushion. A lot of people kind of pile up cushions, even sometimes zafu, which doesn't really happen in Japan, but just kind of elevate the height. So you create a nice kind of a triangular sort of a tripod. Hands can be left on your knees. Sometimes you do this immediately. I get tension easily, so I kind of start with this. One mudra or with mudra, without mudra, it's up to you, but just kind of allows us your body to relax. And it's also a good way to start the beginning, although it's not a standard way, but I've seen this thing happen with people do this quite a bit, and I do this quite a bit often. So placing your hands on your knees, cross leg, and then you sway your body, which is also kind of textbook instruction. You can do this back and forth, kind of turn it around. Just take your time, and then the thing is, our body is already twisted because of how unevenly we use our body. So we can never find that like perfect point where everything is aligned straight because our structure is never straight. But the aim is try to find that little balance. The image is like a tree which is already twisted because it grows in the direction of the sunlight. It's never straight, but when the branches are unevenly spreading, but then there's a point where it can stand, as a tree stands, um, according to the law of gravity. So up to this, it's just a posture adjustment, eyes looking down, and then head often as we do like iPad or iPhone, heads are naturally twisted. I personally found twisting your head a little bit forward somehow calming. But then if you go to monastery, they collect you, and so that head is nicely just sitting on top of this spine comfortably. So you may be surprised how actually it goes a little bit more backward than you think it should. Breathe in and breathe out. For the first few times, or maybe however long you feel like you need to, um, you can breathe in through your nose, then breathe out through your mouth. Um, that's the only time you breathe in or breathe out through your mouth. And when you breathe out through your mouth, be aware and very conscious of how the breath comes out deeply from your abdomen. So the water, not sorry, the air goes in through your nose and goes all the way to your abdomen. Abdominal breathing is what we do, not the lungs. Well, lungs are there, of course, to be used, but we're more aware of the abdominal breathing. And we start to do this abdominal breathing more without thinking. Breathing out through your mouth more consciously. Once is what we're told to do. Sometimes I do twice. If I'm super agitated, I may do this 3 times. It's like a deep breath breathing, except that we do our abdomen, not so much with the lungs we do. And here's a part that I guess I would call body scan. Many people call this a body scan. Some people go from the head, some people go from the bottom. Some people kind of use the image like water filling you up, or yeah, whether it's an imagination or body scan, it's conscious. So again, it's just a means, skillful means. The way I do, it's just my preference, and the way I introduced and shared with the students from the California State University. Um, start with the tip of your toes. Tip of your toes. Just be aware. And identify any tension. Not that we can do much about it, but just be aware of those tensions. Back of your feet. You can take as much time as you need. You'd be surprised how time flies when we try to do it. Half an hour sitting can go by fairly quickly. This, your feet, ankle. Feel the sensations, feel the presence, and then feel the tension. It's hidden in the muscle. Some tensions are naturally required to keep our posture. Some tensions are natural. But then there are those superfluous tensions that we are adding on top of what's needed. Following your feet, leg, so up to your shin, calf. As you breathe in and out, relax. You may not even know how to do it. Just recognize its the tension is there. Some are natural, some are added by ourselves. And it happens deeply in a subconscious level. Knees, the joints. See if you can relax those hidden tensions. Or rather, I would say, the relationship with that tension. Thighs. Actually, thighs are hiding lots of tensions. Some are there naturally to sustain your body weight, but then there are those superfluous tensions. And also the tension hidden within the relationship without such tensions. Letting go, giving up, about the idea of what to do with these tensions. Back of your bottom, waist. If it's necessary, you can slightly adjust your posture, or you don't have to adjust the posture. There's a little bit of discomfort. Then again, idea is not to throw away that tension, rather to understand that relationship that we hold. And then relax that way we connected with this. Because some tensions are necessary for our body to sustain its posture, even just to function. Going along the spine, lower back, the middle of the back, and then upper back. Your shoulders, upper arm, and elbows, and forearms, wrists and palms and hands, each fingers, thumbs. Shoulders, well, I should say I have tension in the shoulders, along the spine and waist. So I'm usually a little thorough. All I'm doing is just directing our attention, my attention, revealing the tension that I'm adding, and I don't even mean to, near abdomen, up through your chest, waist, your neck. Make sure in that neck you're not adding, putting any more burden by either tilting your head backward or forward, back of your head, top of your head, and your forehead, eyes, ears, nose, and cheek, and mouth. I'm kind of going quickly now, but you can just do this as slowly as you want. Your whole body, lower body, and the upper body. As you breathe in, feel the nostril, throat into your bronchus, lungs. The part of the body that we don't usually have conscious control, or so we think. We let go of the tension. Heart, spleen, kidney, liver. You can generally call them body organs because you can't really direct your attention to each one of them. They too hold some tension. You may just send them your love, care, recognition of their presence, letting go of that tension, which is there beyond our perception, control. Intestine, your bones, muscles, glands, nerves, skin, even hair. Breathe in and out. Same with our emotions. The subtle sign of anger, confusion, sadness, disappointment. Um, I know it's in some school you clearly identify those, but that identification is still notion in Zen practice. So again, you don't need to label each with the clear words. I'm just suggesting that you recognize such vague, almost difficult to address emotions are there. It's also part of the functions of how our mind works. Then again, there are some superfluous tensions we're adding in terms of our relationship with them. You don't need to add, fuel those anxiety, anger, sadness. You don't need to negate the presence of such emotions. Let go of the tension that you hold in that relationship with such difficult to address emotions. Let them serve their purpose. Same with our intellects. We have lots of thoughts flowing constantly, whether we are conscious or not. You don't completely annihilate or negate the presence of such function. How our brain works, how our mind works. Whether it's that tension that you hold in this relationship with our notions and concepts. Human perception has its own limitations. The more clearly we hold on to those, it generates tension. Letting them go. Dwelling on Ishiryo, not thinking, not knowing, but yet acknowledging the presence. We're not ignoring, but we're not holding on to it. We're not grasping. Yet we're watching over, observing. Your whole body. Breathe in and breathe out, taking your time. The center of the balance, the weight comes down your navel, abdomen. This stays the same when you're standing, sitting down. The center of the weight is lower. It naturally balances you. You're well, more stable. If I may add one thing, this samadhi practice has its own spring, summer, fall, and winter, which is my favorite expression because conditions are different if you sit in the morning, in the car, in an office space, or at the bedtime. And yet, you just sort of let them do their own thing. um, Abide, let them abide the flow of this time and flow of conditions. I guess the bottom line is don't be too harsh on yourself. Don't be too harsh on your ooh, how we approach this. Entrustment. It's not a unreasonable overconfidence. Just kindness that you give yourself, your body and emotions, mind, your body and mind, and in relationship with your own body and mind, emotions, the relationship you have with people around you, with environments, with your work, family. So that's kind of how we direct your minds. Tension will never disappear because as long as we exist with this baggage, with this, it's always there. But what we can do is how to relate to those, and there's a method. So, and it's so in a sense, it's good to have a guided meditation, but then we come back to this point of just sitting, of non-thinking. It's a kind of freedom, and it's a kind of wisdom, and it's a kind of compassion. I can say this, yes, with definitely with a little more clarity that I have now than I had before. All right. So that's all that I would share. And each one can do it lying down, sitting. Um, yeah, while corpse pose is very typical too. You can fall asleep. I do this while sitting sometimes. And again, there's a bit of freedom there. So I hope you can explore this. Um, and it's good to have different people's perspective too. So anyway, that's all I have to say from me. Thank you for your practice. Um, it's been a good training, a practice for me. So thank you.